Hi, I'm Eric Wind with Geodata Plus. Today on Hands in the Market, we're going to be talking about real estate listing presentations, the good, the bad, and the ugly. With me today is Vincent Koo, somebody who specializes in the good. Vincent is the broker, owner, and CEO of Exit Realty Landmark and Exit Kingdom Realty. Did I get that right?
You got that right.
All right, terrific. Welcome, Vincent.
Thank you, Eric. Thanks for having me.
You're welcome.
Okay.
So we were talking about listing presentations, and I'm sure you've heard a story like this. I've heard this story from homeowners and unfortunately from some real estate customers too, that they walk in to the homeowner's house in an effort to get a listing. They did their research in MLS. They pulled their comps. They're very confident they're going to be able to get that listing. They walk in, they're at the table, and they say, I feel I should list your house for X, and here are the supporting comparables that state that. The homeowner takes one look at this and says, where's the house next door? The house next door looks just like mine. It's sold for X. It's the perfect comp. How'd you miss it? Yeah.
I hear it all too often. It's unfortunate.
No. I hear that in the business that doesn't happen to you too often. I hear you actually make very good real estate listing presentations. How many of your secrets are you willing to share today?
I'll share as much as I can. I'm an open book.
All right, terrific. Let's see if that really happens. When we were talking on the phone in preparation of this before, you said that you break your listing presentation into three parts.
Absolutely. I think the presentation starts with the phone call when you're setting up the appointment or confirming the appointment. It really is about building trust and building credibility. And that credibility has to do with knowledge, showing that you have knowledge of the property. And part of having knowledge of the property is knowing about the property through one of the tools we use is Geodata Plus, okay? It's easy to type in the information, pull up the screen, and I'll know right away if it's an irregular lot. I'll know right away if there's open violations. I'll be able to see if the finance department labels it as a 3-family and the building department labels it as a 2-family.
You might know more than the homeowner after doing that.
A lot of times we do, yeah.
So you get some surprises there.
Absolutely, absolutely. And that really impresses the owner and shows them that they're dealing with a professional.
Okay, so I'm off the phone with you. We schedule that appointment for next Tuesday or whatever it is. What do you do now once you're done? How do you prepare? Preparation
is a big part of what we do. So we want to make sure that we have the best pricing info possible, okay? And part of that is having all the data, okay? The MLS is a tool that all realtors use, essentially, and the limitation is the only thing that you see on the MLS is what's sold on the MLS, okay?
Is that why that person missed the house next door?
That's exactly, just like the story you told. So what we do is we make sure that we take a look at Geodata as well, see if there's any additional properties that were sold through unrepresented sellers or whatnot. Okay, that way we have all the information.
What do you mean by an unrepresented seller?
An unrepresented seller is somebody that maybe went for sale by owner. Okay, and we find that unrepresented sellers, the ratio of them eventually listing with a realtor is still very high.
What about properties that sold with a real estate agent that may not be part of your MLS?
That's where we go to Geodata to find the information. Okay, so we're actually bringing in 2 CMAs, okay, and merging that information, okay. We even go beyond that and communicate with the listing agents and the selling agents of the properties on the CMA, so we could get additional insight on the property, and that usually helps with the presentation.
Okay. So other than getting the right price, how else do you prepare?
You want to make sure your marketing is in line. Okay, so what we always do is we prepare in advance, okay? We actually go through and see if there's any photos of the property, if the property was previously listed. If not, we might do a drive-by and take a photo of the property from the outside, okay? We'll create individual property websites, flyers, we'll create text marketing campaigns, we'll create virtual tours. And what's nice about our virtual tour is we actually hire a professional voiceover artist to speak the description. See, you'll see a lot of slideshows out there on the internet, but they don't tell too much about the property. So what we do is we hire somebody that speaks the description that we write. So it's kind of like us walking the customer through the property.
So you make these marketing materials ahead of time?
Absolutely.
You do the web ahead of time? It sounds like you're essentially doing all the marketing for the listing before you even get it.
We do, and usually that's why we get it.
Kind of stinks if you don't.
Yeah, but chances are we will.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah.
All right, so now you walk in, you shake hands, you sit down at the kitchen table, the dining room table, whatever it is, and what's the next step? How do you finally establish that last piece of credibility that can get that listing for you?
Well, this is where your preparation is going to really shine through. Okay, all that data that you've gathered, now you have to present that to the homeowners. Okay, and you always still have to keep in mind that you need to really understand their motivation. So your line of questioning is very important. Okay, and it might be that second, third, or fifth question before you really find out what their motivation is to move. Okay, and a lot of that presentation, I think that the agents sometimes are so focused on what they need to present, they fail to listen to what the sellers are really saying. Okay.
Okay, so you're listening more. You're not necessarily just shotgunning everything you could possibly think of.
You always have a clear outline so you know where you're going with your presentation. So if we go off on a tangent, I'm able to come back and just move on from where I left off.
Okay.
Okay? But listening is a huge part of it. So if they want to talk about what they want to talk about, and they want to talk about, more in detail about why they need to move, I'm going to make sure that I listen to that. I'm going to make sure that I know that, their motivation is that I understand their motivation.
So, in summary, make a good first impression on the telephone, prepare your marketing materials, get the price right, make a connection when you're there, and make sure you listen.
Yeah.
Oh, and of course, use Geodata.
Of course, use Geodata.
Okay. Any final tips you want to share?
Well, I think that sellers will list with the person that they trust. And the trust has to do with the knowledge that you have about the property and your experience within the neighborhood and competing properties and whatnot. So use every tool at your disposal to gain that trust from that seller.
I want to thank Vincent Koo for joining us today on Hands in the Market. We would love to hear any stories you have about the good, bad, and ugly of listing presentations. You can share that hashtag Hands on the Market. And don't forget to follow Geodata Plus on Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, or any other social media profile you can find us on. Vincent, thanks for joining us today.
Eric, thank you.
You're welcome. I'm Eric Wind from Geodata Plus. Thanks for joining us.
This is Mortgage News Network.